What I'm going to do tonight as we start my new program program is I'm going to read Act Two from the what is it? Ah, Sorry, the African Songbook, and hopefully things will work. Oh, look, I got my first visitor, Carmel. Hello, and I I'm excited about this whole idea, but I think 10 o'clock is a little late for my time. Not for me. I mean, I stay up till all hours of the night, but for other people. Oh, look at, oops, I made a boo boo. I ran out of paper. I just grabbed what was available. Anyways, so I'm going to read the African Songbook, A Tragedy in Five Acts. It is part of a series. Not really part of a series. It's just something that's become a series of three stories. Um, what are the other ones? Oh, I can't even remember now. Oh my god. Anyways, there's three of them total, which is why I am thinking of publishing three stories at a time in little books with you know, uh, a glossy finish, no cover, just you know, just the one color and the gold embossed trilogy for all of them. Just every one is a different story. Yeah, different color, I should say. So yeah, the what is it? Beyond the Pale. Oh wow, I just can't remember the name of them. Whatever. Anyways, so oh look at George is here. Hi George. I'm going to read it. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I have no idea. Um, we'll just see how it goes, and we'll talk about it after. I should readjust this so that way. There. No, well, I have to hold my pages up a little bit so you can kind of see me. Well, so you're not looking at the top of my head. Is what I'm trying to say. So, on 24 January, Mau Mau insurgents brutally murdered Europeans, Mr. and Mrs. Ruck, as well as attacking their family in the Rift Valley using pangas. All the newspapers had to do was show a photograph of the child's bedroom where his bloody teddy bear lay on the bed, and the whole world cried out at the graphic nature of the crime. White settlers reacted strongly, overreacting in some cases, dismissing household servants, fearing they might be Mau Mau sympathizers. Europeans, including women, armed themselves with any weapon they could find, and in some cases, settlers built full-scale forts on their farms to protect their homes from invasion. Many Europeans also joined auxiliary units, like the Kenya Police Reserve and the Kenya Regiment, a territorial army regiment. British colonial officials believed the Kikuyu Central Association served as the political wing of the resistance, and arrests quickly followed. They made carrying a gun illegal and associating with Mau Mau a capital offense. In May of 1953, the Loyalist Home Guard became an official part of the security forces. It became a significant part of the anti-Mau Mau effort. They organized their own intelligence networks and made punitive sweeps into the areas they suspected of harboring or supporting Mau Mau. Act 2, 24 May 1953, Mozambique Estate, Kenya. Daniel was willing to accept the fact that Sam wanted to follow him wherever he went. It was only natural because the boy's father was never around, and he understood that need more than he wanted to remember. But he felt as though the boy was replacing his father with Daniel in his own mind, and that would never do. Boy needs his father. Daniel didn't mind watching Sam because it gave him an excuse to see Bandy every day. Sometimes he found her waiting at the door for him before he even knocked, wearing her blue kanga, the traditional Kenyan wrap she always wore, her white blouse starched and buttoned halfway up her thin neck, and he would steal kisses from her, hungering after her as if he were a man starved for breakfast. And he was starving for her, he realized. The last 8 months together made him realize what it meant to truly love someone. This morning, Daniel knocked and Tandy met him at the door with a smile. Sam came bounding out of the door with a quick, "Goodbye, Tandy," leaping into the Jeep and honking the horn. "Come on, Inky, let's go." Elizabeth came around the corner after him, screaming out of the door, and she would have followed him too if Tandy didn't reach out to stop her. "We have chores to do, Sammy. You can't just leave. Mommy told him to help me," she said, looking up at Tandy briefly. "I'm not doing it all myself," she yelled out of the door at Sam. "That's woman's work. Me and Inky have real work to do." "I'll help you," Sandy said. Her voice was as soft and comforting as her touch was gentle. She stroked Elizabeth's head, trying to calm her down. "Daniel will put him to work, won't you, Daniel?" "I'll be a regular taskmaster." "I'm telling Mom," Elizabeth yelled at Sam one last time, poking her head around Daniel as she did. She looked at him and forced a smile. "Good morning, Inky," she said at last. Inky was the name she called him when she first learned to speak, a mispronunciation of Inkyasa. It was the name that stuck. "Come on, Inky," Sam yelled. Sam called from the Jeep, honking the horn again, and Daniel found himself forced to leave with nothing but Sandy's smile to keep him company for the rest of the day, until they saw each other again later that night. Daniel let Sam drive the Jeep whenever they went out for the morning inspection together. There were times they'd drive for hours without seeing anyone, and sometimes they'd chase out the antelope, and giraffes and zebras that pushed their way through barbed wire fences. The small line of fencing was something that needed repairs on a daily basis, and Daniel made a note of it in his book for Tommy to look after. Daniel looked up at the openness of the Rift Valley with its long rolling hills and fractured distant cliffs, and it reminded him of his own youth when he drove Lord Whitney around the estate. He told Sam to turn down a well-worn path and follow an old game trail, the same game trail he remembered driving with Lord Whitney 25 years ago when he was Sam's age. "Stop here," Daniel said. Sam pushed in the clutch and stood on the brake and shut the engine off. They were on a rise overlooking the rift, the Saguda River twisting its way through the rocks of nearby Mount Taita, tumbling over cliff faces in a rush of white water. There were mornings when everything was right, when the stillness was so profound it made him think he could reach out and hold the very soul of Africa in his hands, and he could hear the distant falls. It's only a matter of time before the river becomes a trickle again. He looked up at the sky, a clear, pale blue with light cirrus clouds scattered along the horizon, as he looked for rain clouds above the faraway Mao escarpment. The distant cloud looked like a bruise against the clear blue sky. He was hoping the rainy season wasn't over yet. He was counting on 2 more weeks of heavy rain. It was still possible for the crops to suffer. If it isn't one thing, it's another. Either not enough rain or too much. If it's not rain, it's fire or disease. "What are we doing here?" Sam asked. "I used to come here with your grandfather when I was younger. He used to show me how much of the land was his and tell me what he hoped to do with it one day." "How much of it was his back then?" "All of it, as far as the eye can see, but all they grew was cotton when he was younger. Your grandfather brought in coffee shortly after he returned from the war." "He was in the war with Dad?" "The other one, the great one." Why did they call why did they call that one? Why did they call it that one? The First World War? What? Sorry, my bad. What did they call that one? "The First World War," Daniel said, turning to look at the boy with a curious knit of his brows. "I thought Sandy was supposed to be your tutor." "She is. And you haven't learned about European history?" "She doesn't think it's important." "What does she think is important?" "Everything around us. Africa, the land and the people. She's a great one for mathematics and poetry, too," he added, dropping his head and mumbling into his chest. "Well, if you want to run this place, you'd better start learning that much at least. The mathematics, I mean. There's no need to learn about poetry," he smiled. "Is grandfather as rich as people say he is?" Sam asked unexpectedly. "And what people are those?" "People in Nairobi. I heard them talking to Dad." "And you listened?" "Sometimes I can't help it. They say things in front of me. Then you should turn away." Daniel drove down the hillside, telling Sam to hold on tight because it might be a rough ride. He put the Jeep into first gear and drove over the edge of the hill, pushing in the clutch and gathering speed. Sam screamed at the sudden lurch as Daniel shifted into second gear and released the clutch. Daniel screamed, looking at Sam and closing his eyes until they reached the bottom. He screamed as loud as he could until he and Sam were laughing and exhausted at the bottom of the hill, a choking trail of dust corkscrewing behind them as they slid into the small service road, and Daniel shifted gears again, picking up speed and heading toward the cotton fields. "The grandfather's been encouraging me to take you under my wing," Daniel said into the wind. "He wants you to know all there is to know about this place." "Why me?" "Because one day, all of this will be yours." "Mine?" Sam was looking at the blur of plants on his right. "Aren't you a Whitney? After your grandfather dies, your father will be lord after him. After him, you will. Who did you think is going to run it?" "Me?" He laughed. "With any luck, I'll be long dead by then." There was a row of huts standing at the north end of the field the workers used at harvest time. One, a supply shack, held open rain barrels of water as well as tools. Daniel drove toward it once he realized he'd forgotten his water canteen. It wasn't something he was in the habit of doing. He knew it was because he'd been thinking of Sandy. Still, something like that can get a man killed if he's trapped in the wilds or a field without water or a rifle. Daniel always made sure he had his rifle after his father died under the claws of a man-eating lion. It was after that when Lord Whitney took Daniel into his home. With Lady Whitney dead and his son at boarding school, Daniel found himself staying in Nigel's room and standing in his father's place as Lord Whitney's Batman. As soon as they approached the hut, Daniel knew something was wrong. He looked at the hard-packed dirt and saw the unmistakable sign of footprints. It had rained 4 nights before, and there shouldn't have been anyone in the area. He reached out for the rifle on the back seat of the Jeep. He looked at the tracks as soon as he stepped out of the Jeep, noticing a notch in every second footprint, sandals made from old tires. It means nothing. Everyone wears them. Sam looked down at the prints. Who was here? Daniel shook his head. Look, Sam said, pointing. Blood. Do you think there was an animal here? Daniel nodded. You mean like a lion? That would be so neat if it was a lion. Daniel shook his head. An animal of a different sort. Mau-maus. Mau-maus? How do you know? Sam looked around nervously. Do you think they're still here? I've heard they wait in the bushes for you. And where did you hear that? He shrugged. I just heard it, Stories, Sam said. Look, Daniel pointed at the tire track. They came that way by truck. And there, he pointed at the footprint. You can see maybe 5 or 6 sandals. You can see all of that? It's not hard to see if you look closely. Daniel was following the prints into the high grass. He began looking through brushes, sweeping the long grass aside with his rifle, and then stopped, straightening up. He pointed at the bloody remains of a small goat, severed head covered in flies, and tossed it aside. Neat, Sam said. But what does it mean? Daniel shook his head. Looking about, he felt as if he was being watched. It couldn't have been too long ago. Everything looked too fresh. A blood oath, he said, and directed Sam back toward the Jeep. They arrived at Mozambique within an hour. The tall French doors leading out to the veranda mirrored the afternoon light, the bars of light cascading across the veranda. Daniel could see Lord Whitney sitting with Natasha under the shade of an overhang. He followed the circular drive and parked beneath a large acacia. Don't tell anyone about this, Daniel said to Sam. They were still in the Jeep, and Daniel had his foot on the door panel, halfway out before Sam replied, Why not? I have to think this through. This is not a game, Sam. Daniel reached into the back seat for the rifle. He knew there was little he could say or do to stop Sam from speaking to Lord Whitney, but there was more than just a sense of impending danger. Although that was uppermost in his mind, there was something else. They were no longer isolated witnesses in a world gone mad, and he knew there was a possibility that soon they might become the victims of madness descending. Daniel sensed he might be caught in the middle of it, and suddenly it was a question of whom he could trust. He walked to the back door, approaching the kitchen, where he looked through the open door. Elizabeth stood in front of a sink full of dishes, slowly washing them. Sandy kept herself busy sweeping the floor. He watched the gentle sway of her hips for a moment, smiling as she shuffled along in her 2 large sandals. At last, he stepped through the door and leaned against the jamb. Why are you sweeping the floor? I thought there was a maid who did that sort of thing. Sandy looked up at him and smiled. Hello, Inky, Elizabeth called out. "Hello, Elizabeth," he said with a smile. "I see Sandy has put you to work. Mom says I should get used to doing chores. There may come a day when I'll have to keep my own house." I suppose that may be true. Is Sam back? Daniel shook his head. No, I left him out on the savannah for the hyenas. What? Her eyes grew big for a moment. She laughed when she saw him smile. Don't worry. I doubt if they'll want him. Not enough meat. And then he laughed. Would you mind if I took Sandy outside for a moment? I need to talk to her. He took the broom from Sandy's hands and leaned it against the wall. Sandy followed him as Daniel led her outside slowly. What's wrong? She asked. What makes you think something's wrong? He looked at her for a moment before taking her into his arms and kissing her. She fell back against the side of the house, pulling him with her as she did, returning the kiss. When she let him go, she smiled up at him, laughing softly. What brought that on? Not that I didn't like it, she added. Do I need a reason? She shook her head, still smiling. She had unbuttoned her collar during the course of the day, and he found himself looking down at the swell of her breast where her blouse lay open. She looked up at him from beneath her long lashes, and and her smile faded as she realized there was something bothering him. She waited, knowing he'd tell her in his own good time. We found a dead goat out by a shed on the edge of the cotton fields, he said at last. A goat. It's what they use for their blood oaths. Who? Mau Mau's, he said with a note of impatience. I want you to know first. I wanted you to know first so you'd know what's going on. What does it mean? There are more than 1,000 workers here. Some have been here for years, but most of them are migrants. They work for the land because their fathers worked it. Before that, their fathers worked it. It's all they know. They used to own this land, and now they want it back. That's why people believe in Mau Mau. And you don't? She eyed him carefully, and he looked at her for a moment before he shook his head. Do you think there are workers here who are Mau Mau? She said. Some, he nodded. Do you know who? He shook his head. There's no way of knowing that. She seemed relieved to hear that. What are you going to do? I suppose Lord Whitney will contact the Home Guards. After that, I don't know what will happen. Wow. Wow. I just, I finished it. I didn't expect it to be, well, okay, that was 15 minutes. Anyways, so there you go. That's my live chat, and it actually worked, didn't it? Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, and that's a lot more than I expected because it's 10 o'clock at night over here, and anybody on the Pacific Coast, but anybody elsewhere, it's a lot later. I mean, maybe my cousins in Europe are watching this, but then it's what 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever, 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. 7 o'clock. Sorry, there's only 9 hour difference. What do I know? So, anyways, what I was planning to do with this was do a live reading every week on the Monday night, but I think that maybe I should do it a little bit earlier. I'm thinking 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Well, 8 o'clock I think is a better time, but it's a really hard one to call because life does get in the way, especially when you're married. They want things. Anyways, not really. I wish, but no. I mean, we've been married for what? 41 years. Holy smokes. 41 years. I couldn't believe that myself either. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, and it's our birthdays. Our birthdays are 9 days apart. So it used to be ridiculous because like 9 days of just drunken revelry. Well, when we were young, It was the '80s. What did you expect? We weren't we weren't responsible. We weren't mature. Well, I wasn't. I'm still not. But whatever. Anyways, back to my stories. That was Act 2. There's 3 more to go, and then what I plan to do is read all of my novellas, all of them, because that's what I meant to do a long time ago. But I'm putting them all behind a paywall. Somebody once said to me that they appreciated me reading it because they had a hard time with their eyes and they couldn't read, and they like to listen. And I thought, oh, okay. And then I heard that what do you call it? Audio was becoming the new big thing, and so I thought maybe I'll try that. So what I came up with was a TV station idea. It's a mock station, of course, the BTC-TV. It means book television channel. That's it. That's how, yeah, that's how imaginative I am. So the book television channel, channel 13 in Vancouver. And, what I want to do is I want to get this, and then I want to get the Poet's Corner that I'm, reading Byron on, and, oh, yeah, and, Shakespeare. I'm reading a sonnet from Shakespeare. I don't know if I do very good with that, but, like, I try. And then I want to make a little movie kind of thing with AI. I wanna make little commercial type things. I wanna make a program of approximately 5 hours or something of that sort, and then put it all up at once so that, it's a TV show, TV station. 5 hours of, commercials and, that kinda stuff. Hope hoping that maybe it will work. Just just for the hell of it. It's a challenge to myself. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm not very techy, I mean, I never had a computer until I was in my 40s, and I never got to, learn it properly, and, yeah, well, I worked swing shifts, so I never got to do a lot of stuff. I never did the blogging thing. I never did any of the, the all the stuff that everybody was doing back in the '80s and the '90s. I never did that. I never got a computer until I was, like, in the 2000s or whatever. So, I don't know a lot. I'm not very, techy. So, we'll see how this works. I mean, when it comes to making my little, commercial not the commercial thing, but when I do my other readings and stuff that's not live, I do it on the, what's that thing on Apple, where, the photo booth. I do it on photo booth. It's one read, one take. There's like if the phone rings, I'm hooped. Then I have to start all over again, and I've had to do that a couple of times. But whatevs. It is what it is. But I like to do that because then I can take that and I can run it into, iMovies because I have an iMac, right? So then I can run it through, iMovies, and then I can add the little beginning parts, and I put music in it, and make an introduction and all that stuff like that. And I enjoyed that kind of stuff because, I never did it before. I worked in a sawmill. What did I know? I didn't know anything. I mean, it's like I had to learn everything the hard way. First computer I had was, what do you call it? DOS. Yeah, because it was, somebody somebody gave it to me. And then, so then I had to, learn how to use that, and then I got an Apple. Then I had to learn all over again. I had to learn how to do, no, first I got a Windows, and then, I had to learn everything, start from scratch, figure it all out, and then I was on, what did I have? I had Windows version 7, and they were already up to version 12 or 13 or whatever like that. I went into a computer store and said, "Hey, have you got a manual for the, Windows?" The guy goes, "Yeah, right over here." I go, "No, I need the Windows 7." And then he said, "Yeah, we don't carry that. That's been out for like 5 years. Gone. We don't do that. They've upgraded." I went, "Oh." Then I ended up getting an Apple. I had to learn it all over again. Like, it takes me a while to learn these things because I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I managed. So now it's like I do this. It's like, I know how to use a few things. It's like all I used it basically for is to write my stories, and that's it. It's like now I realize I could do so much more. I can make movies. I can make cartoons. I can make, I can do all sorts of stuff. And I want to do all of that stuff. There's just never enough time in the day. And I'm retired. Go figure that. Like, I don't think that there's enough time and I don't even have to work. Like, that's just ridiculous. So that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Anyways, Let me see. This is 25 minutes. I want to make this to I want to make this into a half an hour show. It fits in with my programming. And then it's like, I can make little station identification things and all that stuff. Be fun. It'll be different. Because I believe that this gets made into what? Like they do something with it. I don't know what they call it. They make it into its own program. And then I can play it later. Other people can see it. It is what it is. But I'm going to put this behind the paywall. Um, I think I was gonna do it like next week, but I think I will do it after I finish this story. So that way, if you started listening to the story, you can hear the whole story. And then after that, I'll do whatever story comes next. I don't even know what that's going to be. And then we'll just go from there because I think great. And I think if I go, like, I wanna put things behind I have a reason for going behind the paywall. I want to gather some money so that I can, like, make POD books. I don't wanna go through Amazon and all of that stuff. I just have issues with Amazon. I got ripped off by them years ago. And, I want to make POD books, and then get people to if they want a copy of it, send me a self-addressed stamped postcard of the city that you're in with a picture of scenery and things, and then I'll just send you a copy of the book, plain and simple. But you have to sign up for the paywall thing, and it's cheap. It's $30 for the year, American, I guess. I guess because this is an American thingy, but that's 8 cents a day. And, yeah, I figure it's pretty cheap. I mean, like, my god, I pissed more up against the wall on a Friday night. Did I just say that out loud? Sorry. I did work in the mill. I do have, industrial language, lots of it. I have to control myself and not swear because I swear like a trooper, and my wife isn't much better. So it's like every other word is F and this and F and that. Like, that's just the way we talk to each other because 'cause we've been together for 40 years. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's just the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to say goodnight, okay? Because, I think that's the, way to, go because this is at 28 minutes, and that's close enough. I don't know oh, there's that's I found out how to end it. Okay, so I'm going to say ciao for now. Hopefully, I'll see you next week, and, I will still do it at 10 o'clock, or I'll let a note out and let you know that it's earlier. Or you can, like, drop me a line and, tell me, that maybe I should do it earlier. We'll see, depends on where you live. Alrighty then, let's go. Ciao for now. I'll see you next week at the same bat time and the same bat channel, and, arrivederci.